Creating a high performance technology function is not just an issue for information technology leaders, but has become an urgent business priority that spans the C suite. Tech talent not only drives operational efficiency, but also business strategy and top line performance, making the IT workforce an increasingly critical segment in industries that previously perceived tech talent as enabling talent. And as more organizations have come to recognize the value of tech talent to their growth, this has further increased demand for this critical workforce segment. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Analytics Insight podcast, where we talk about the ever evolving tech space. And I'm your host, Priya Dayalani. Now, in the next decade, it's estimated that the US tech force will grow at twice the rate of the overall US workforce. In fact, one report forecasts that the demand for tech talent will grow to 7.1 million tech jobs by 2023 in the United States alone. But despite high profile tech sector layoffs in 2023, the unemployment rate among tech workers remains significantly below the unemployment rate for the general workforce. Now, let's welcome JPS Kohli, founder and Group CEO of SkillUp, to help us understand how training and upskilling can help address the tech talent shortage and how we can grow in a tech driven world. Hi, JPS Kohli, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Priya. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Great. It's a pleasure to have you on a podcast today. And of course, this is a highly debatable topic that, everybody is discussing in boardrooms and the overall economy as well. And having you on the podcast today will definitely help us debunk certain myths that are surrounding this topic, as well as our listeners will get a clear idea as to, how tech talent can probably grow themselves in an era that is continuously, being shaped by recent tech developments and advancements. But before we dive into our core discussion, we would like to know more about SkillUp. So if you could help us understand about the company, its specialization, it would be great.
Yeah, very well. Thank you very much for this opportunity, Priya. SkillUp is end-to-end learning solutions organization, and we are focused on bringing skills and capability in a modern world. And when I say end-to-end, it means we provide strategy consulting, we provide custom content development, we have a learning platform where we enable the tech talent for upskilling and reskilling themselves. And then we provide those services to enterprises and consumers alike. So we have a broad canvas. And then we have learning support services like mentoring, teaching, coaching, career, where we bring all of that together along with our AI and platform capability to really move the dial on how people skill and upskill themselves as individuals and as organizations, how they can move the tech talent up the demand curve and make sure that people are relevant in today's world. So that's where the SkillUp's foundation has been. And its foundation is kind of anchored more with my own experience and background. I have had 30 years of IT services and learning and training industry experience. I started my career with NIIT, went on to build India's largest web store for IT products in early 2000s. Then was with Microsoft for 10 years. And I was at one of the roles, I was their director for all of their worldwide commercial training and learning content. In the last 2 years, really reshaped how Microsoft was delivering their online training, and which is what their model is today, which is more coexisting with their training partners as well as going directly. And in 2016, I got an opportunity to start a modern training organization like SkillUp and kind of have a broad canvas of custom content, AI-enabled services, which is technology stack, a platform stack, and a very robust services model with mentoring and coaching and career support services to bring it all together, primarily for a learner, so that the learner can move its dial both on the learning outcome and the learner outcome. The learning outcome, a lot of people talk about, which is how have I skilled myself? Have I taken my competency up? But the learner outcome is where the learner is really looking for, why do I want to take the learning for the first place? And most of that is anchored around financial and career capability. So can I earn more? Can I do better in my job? Can I get a better job? Or can I grow in my career path? And that's the reason they go for skilling and upskilling. And that's what SkillUp totally understands. and is focused very heavily on the learner, while also providing that support for enterprises and organizations that support the learner and the career path.
Fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful. And thank you for sharing that insightful overview. And definitely, I think SkillUp is addressing some of the critical problems that talent usually at this moment is experiencing, and wherein an organization is at the forefront of helping them build skills that are necessary to survive in the modern world and be relevant in today's world. And also thank you for sharing your personal journey, and we're glad to know that you are a transformational learning influencer with 30 years of industry leading experience. And I think your journey has extended across company employment, corporate leadership, and entrepreneurial success as well. Great. That definitely sets the foundation of our today's conversation. So moving ahead, I was just reading across, this report, and it stated that this was a report by McKinsey in 2023 that stated that only 16% of executives feel comfortable with the amount of tech talent they have available to drive their digital transformation initiatives. The same survey also found that 60% of companies cited the scarcity of tech talent and skills as a key inhibitor of that transformation. While layoffs by major tech companies basically have temporarily, increased the pool of available tech talent, there is no evidence of a systematic narrowing of the gap between supply and demand. So, how do you think we can address the current tech skill gap?
No, that's a very, very relevant question, Priya. I think, not only McKinsey, Gartner, everybody has been reporting about the skills gap. Now, that when you look back at the, last many decades, that has always been an issue in general. You have technology innovation over the years and over the decades that is actually accelerating the rate at which new technology comes in. So whatever was, this was also a problem earlier, but it was not this exasperated. It was, okay, I'm getting some time, we know the technology is coming and it is getting adopted much more slower rate. And then you get time to skill your workforce, and you have the early adopters, the early majority, and the mid majority and late majority or laggards, and that cycle it kind of goes through. That has got squeezed tremendously over the last decade or two, and the rate of innovation has exponentially grown. So the challenge that you just described is the intersection of that issue, where on one hand you have this massive inroads in innovation and speed with which AI is really becoming a disrupting force right now, which let's just take last few years in that roadmap, and the access to data, the access to automation, and the power of computing at the and in the hands of individuals. What the phone in our hands is way more powerful than massive computers that existed many decades back. So I think in that environment, it has all come together in a perfect storm way. So on one hand, people are scared and organizations are saying, well, we need to start taking effort and be a forcing function to lay off people in order to show our investments in AI and that we are able to. Now, one, even if we haven't made those investments and even if we don't have that tech talent, let's make it a forcing function. So some of the layoffs you see that start happening, others you see is where, people are just following the trend that we will become irrelevant if we don't take steps. On the other hand, the reality of that, 7 or 10 million, some reports have said 9.5 million, and you mentioned 7.1 million, that gap still exists, and people are not trained faster enough. Now, the challenge is now left either at individuals. I've lost my job. Now I need to upgrade my skills to become relevant in today's world. So that is one aspect where it comes in as the consumer and the learner directly. But a full comprehensive workforce or employee development programs, few companies have taken, but not everybody has come fully on board. So a lot of it, so when you look at what we are trying to do is we are saying we are recognizing the fact that there is a massive level of upskilling and reskilling that is required, specifically in this technology space. And even if you look at what SkillUp has been doing, we were formed in 2016. And I got a very interesting note from somebody saying, hey, JPS, you've been talking about this since the time you were formed, and AI has only become this massive a buzzword only after, OpenAI disruption and this AI tools in the hands of every individual, which is really last year and a half, a couple of years at best that has kind of come in. But we were talking about AI education, data science, cybersecurity, and all what we call future skills way back, including the program that we ran, SkillUp ran on AI education with NASCOM and Ministry of IT in India, and trained hundreds of thousands of learners on that area, which was, I think, 5 or 6 years back. So that's where, and even after doing that, the dial that has been moving is very slow, because what you really want is adoption. You want individuals to come forward, but individuals will come forward mostly when they get impacted. So we are actually starting to see some of that individual initiative, because once those layoffs happen, then that is the time when skilling and education and investment in my own self starts to go up. But a structured program through organizations is something that is needed, personalized to the demands their businesses have. And a lot of times that demands mean, how do I apply these technologies in my sector and very specifically in my business? So they need somebody to say, hey, don't just give me generic training, make it very specific to my workforce, customize it for me and stuff like that. And so hence, when I talked earlier about SkillUp being this end-to-end learning solutions organization, that is a space I went very intentionally on. It is a space that many organizations have vacated. They have become niche players that, oh, I provide only AI training, or, I only deliver training, I only produce content, or I only have instructors, or I only have a LMS platform. SkillUp kind of took a space of becoming a breadth player, but I also recognize that you cannot be an effective breadth player without having sufficient depth in each one of these areas. And so over the years, we kind of built that with the aim of really speeding up that learning and training and skilling for individuals and for organizations, and helping them there. So I hope that gives the one, it recognize the challenge there, but I also feel that a lot more needs to be done with,
Right.
or from organizations' perspective, to say, okay, I am right sizing my team, but am I right skilling my team? That's so they have started. I feel they've many organizations have started right sizing the team without having a right capability and competency investment, or a skilling investment that they need to do. And I think that's the area where that's giving a little more anxiety now, that okay, I have right sized, but I still don't have the talent. 16% of execs, feel comfortable to drive with the existing talent, and almost what you said, 60% of them feel that there is lack and scarcity of talent. And that resonates very well with what I'm seeing when I talk to industry or organizations, as well as when I talk to individuals on the modern skills or current relevant skills training.
Definitely and absolutely. I think that's a really valuable perspective that you have shared. And I think bridging the tech gap isn't just about training, it's about creating a continuous learning culture and ensuring that you're aligning your reskilling and upskilling or education initiatives with the evolving industry needs. And I think you have summed up that really beautifully. Now, let's take that a step further. I mean, we have seen a lot of transformation in the workplace, and it's something that we have not seen before. Advances in artificial intelligence, automation, or other cutting edge technologies are transforming industries, changing the nature of jobs and redefining the skills that are needed to succeed in the current workforce. Of course, if we talk about automation, for example, so it is now being used and increasingly handling repetitive or rule-based tasks across industries. Whether you talk about manufacturing or finance, you have robots and algorithms that are performing processes that were once reserved for humans. How do you think that the rise of AI and automation are reshaping the training priorities?
Yeah, I think in summary, I would say that when I think about how AI and automation is, profoundly transforming how organizations are delivering, defining, and prioritizing their training, we are seeing, at least from my perspective, is it's not just what's changing is not just what people learn, but what is changing is why should I be learning this? How fast should I be learning it? Is it just in time or is it just in case? And I'll talk a bit about that as well. And in what ways do I need to learn? So just in time being, I need something because the speed with which things are moving is fast. So I'm being asked to do something here. How can I train myself and know the right skills to just solve this problem that is currently at hand? And a lot of industry has started talking about the just in time learning. But I think just in case learning is where you actually invest upfront. Just in case learning, in my point of view, is just in case I need this skill. So that is now building muscle. I don't know what I will need, but I need to understand. Let's take AI and data science. I need to understand the basic concepts of data science. I need to understand the AI tools, how to use them, and what are the AI building blocks that I will be able to use or call upon when some project happens. Now, when I get into that a particular problem or solving solution, I know I can lean in on these bigger muscles that I've already created and the skills that I have, but I may need some just in time pieces as well, which are very relevant, which are more applicable to the current project, and I may need support there as well. So it's both of these. So really being attuned to both aspects require somebody to think about a holistic training plan. So that's one. Second is we are also recognizing that you're moving from functional skills to what is more cognitive and adaptive skills, and what humans have different than machines, that what cannot be replicated that easily as of now, is really critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, communication, empathy, all of that. Some very interesting pilots and dimensions AI is taking, but it's still very early. So more repetitive, more tasks that can be repeated, those are kind of going to AI and automation. But many of these human capabilities are still require investments. So I'm kind of almost seeing that there is a need for having very clear articulation of how the AI and humans, how the automation machine and humans are coexisting, and what areas are best suited for what perspective. Very similarly, instead of more being more job based learning, now it's kind of moving more to a dynamic skills based learning. What are the skills I need in order to, and that's where I was trying to make a point of just in case being as important in training as just in time. And then from one size fits all kind of a learning approach, it is now with the power of AI. That's something AI is enabling tremendously. I've been talking about personalized and data driven learning for a long time. As the last 2 years that I was leaving Microsoft in 2014 and 15, and then starting SkillUp since 2016, I've been talking about hyper personalization of learning. And the tools to really make that real is more available right now. Earlier, we were doing adaptive training. How do we bring more humans in the mix and kind of give almost a Netflix like of experience, saying, hey, I know what you want. And a lot of that can be done through career coaches, through humans on the other side, really giving something more at scale. Of course, an individualized instructor one-on-one can provide all that experience. Now with the power of AI, you can have understanding of what experience a learner is going through and how is that experience different than 20 other learners in the same class. So while they're following a cohort, and different training models could be there, while they're following along, how can I still provide meaningful insight to a learner, saying this modality suits you better? You're doing better here, but these areas you're lacking. So let me give you some additional help. Let me give you more, AI supported assessments in between so that you can understand where are the gaps and you fill those gaps. So you're using the power of AI and automation effectively to understand the learner better and provide that personalized learning experience. And I could go on and on. There's technical upskilling and how do you do human and machine integration. But in the end, you're really looking at not a one-time learning intervention, not a one size fits all, but a much more continuous, personalized, lifelong learning experience that you're kind of building. And that's where we are going to go into. So AI and automation are really forcing us to evolve this training from being more event based, let me just do it right now at this point in time, to more continuous, personalized, to build capability and skilling ecosystems so that I continue to align it very closely with how the market is shaping up and what business requirements are coming in. And it allows me to move and respond much more dynamically and quickly to that market space. And that is where I think the formal education system is also going through. Enrollments in university education and all of that is down because they cannot respond that quickly, right? And yet you need training specialists to work very closely with industries and with organizations to respond quickly and make a dynamic skilling ecosystem. And that's what I think is the need of the hour. And that's how the power of AI and humans can be brought together.
Definitely, I agree with you, and I think your entire perspective really highlights how the landscape of learning overall is, evolving faster than ever before. And as we have AI and automation in place already, I think it's not about rescaling, but more about building adaptability into the DNA of organizations. And I guess, you have put it down really well in terms of how AI can be more of a growth enabler in terms of upskilling initiatives, providing personalized learnings or AI supported assessments to understand the gaps and understand the learner better, and then accordingly tailoring the solutions as per the organization needs or the learner's needs. I think that's where AI is definitely creating a mark in the learning and development of field, and ensuring upskilling is something that people, I mean organizations, are willingly accepting it and making sure that they are providing those opportunities to their employees as well. So I think when you talk about upskilling, it is no longer optional. I think it is a strategic imperative that organizations need to focus on. According to World Economics Forum Future of Jobs Report 2025, 59% of the global workforce will need upskilling or reskilling by 2030 to stay relevant amidst the rapid technology, economic, and even the demographic shifts. So if we talk about the learning and development leaders, this statistic signals urgency because skills are becoming obsolete faster, talent expectations are rising, and the cost of doing nothing is high in turnover. There is productivity loss and opportunity cost as well. So in 2025, and we are almost in the end of 2025, and in the coming years, we will have technologies like generative AI is already there. But I think that will also shape how we are investing in structured upskilling, not just to close gaps, but to drive real business performance. So, according to you, what methods are the most effective for professionals to engage with and complete their upskilling programs?
Yeah, so I think a lot, the marketplace has been evolving very rapidly in terms of what are the tools that are in front of professionals. And I think when you talk about that, there are just what are the broad availabilities of platforms, choices, and everybody's saying, hey, you can just go ahead and build from a AI-based tool and you can learn, it can adapt to this. So there are many those modalities taking place, but there is human behavior that is more accustomed, that they're more used to as well. One aspect that I really have spoken a lot about, that as human beings, there's a very interesting data point, and that's definitely applicable. And that data is very visible in my last 10 years, at least, that I've spent more time in kind of talking about it. And that is that only 5 to 8% people are self motivated to do things on their own. And learning is not an exception. Now, that data SkillUp has seen in many projects. So, SkillUp has managed to achieve close to 65 to 67% course completions in directly addressing that data. So what does that mean? So what do professionals have? So if I am a professional wanting to learn, I know that this is an area and skill I need to learn on. But if inherently I am not one of those 5 to 8% highly motivated people who are going to learn on their own, then large scale platforms or solutions that say I am very innovative and I can provide these solutions will not work, because in the end the human has to come and learn, and if they are not highly motivated, that won't work. Even if the tool is built in the best space, if best content is available. So what ends up happening is you need a much more holistic approach to it. And the earlier question that you had asked is how AI is taking shape, and I had kind of answered saying AI plus the machine and the human interaction together can solve that problem. So I'm in that sense more of a centrist, saying as much as technology innovation is happening, you need to use technology and plug in the gaps other places through humans and instructors and your tribe. And that is the model SkillUp has actually built on as well, saying let's really look at how humans learn. I have my parents, my teachers, my peers, my friends, and that kind of becomes my tribe or community that is nudging me, that is saying, hey, go ahead and pick this, go and show up in a classroom. And so you need some sort of a nudge management for people who are not self-motivated. People who are highly motivated, you don't even need any tools. All they need is access to really good content and material, and they will learn on their own. Rest of us, 90% cannot do that. So you need an instructor, you need a tool, adaptive, personalized, AI supported tool that is giving you data saying you're failing and these are your gap areas based on whatever you're learning. And then you comes to preferred learning styles. As an individual, do I learn? Am I more I consume reading material much better than watching a video? Or am I a learner? Many learners actually like to do more things and learn. So, do I have enough hands on practices and projects in there? But now, in the world of AI, do I also have projects in my relevant industry and in my specific areas that I need? So, yes, you were talking about data science, but apply it to the healthcare work that I'm doing or apply it to the gas and oil industry that I'm working on. So, I need scenarios there. So, how can you use a faster curation engine to really build those scenarios and have projects and actual practices for learners to practice them? Now, can you bring together other learners to participate in a community project and things like that? So, there is just a lot of these learning areas and making it more personalized, making it more adaptive, and making it more community led, making it more hands on and project driven. And all of that supported through a faster content curation engine. And some of it supported through dynamic AI support as they go along. So, okay, I have just completed few sessions, I've completed few projects. Now I just need to check whether I have enough skills or not. We have, for example, SkillUp has an AI assessment, AI based assessment generator, which could generate based on the content that you've just learned and give you a 25 question practice and give you a heat map on what have you learned and where your gaps are, so that you can go back and say, well, I still have gap in this area, and if I don't complete this foundational work, I will not be able to go ahead and complete work elsewhere. So I think it's a little long-winded. To summarize, I think there is individual learning preferences and styles that you can use more modern tools, platforms, AI based applications to really understand that better, what works for me better. There is a faster content curation engine that allows me to customize and tailor the content for me in my industry and in my job role or my organization. So even though I have a base content that's common, application content really becomes more from my industry. And then you have a combination of human and machine or automation support pieces to really guide me, nudge me along the process, so that that blended and holistic approach actually ends up being most effective for learners who are not highly motivated or self-motivated. And that's about 90% of the learners.
Definitely. And I mean, we believe the future of work will be defined by those who embrace change and proactively prepare for what lies ahead. And by implementing workforce solutions that align with AI and automation advancements, organizations can empower their teams, drive innovation, and secure long term success. Thank you so much, Mr. Kohli, for taking all the time and effort to be on a podcast today and, helping us gain more insights around upskilling and helping us understand by, organizations who will be embracing emerging trends and leveraging technology can create a more innovative and inclusive learning experiences that propel employees forward, ensuring that they remain at the forefront of their fields and drive the overall organizational success. Thank you so much. It was lovely chatting with you.
Thank you, Priya. Thank you for having me on this podcast. And it was lovely chatting with you and on the topic that's so close to my heart and being able to share those thoughts. It was a pleasure doing that.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Kohli. This is for our listeners. I hope you enjoyed today's episode around upskilling and learning and development initiatives. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes. You can view all our previous episodes on Spotify and other leading platforms. Thank you so much.